Capital One is in the process of changing dramatically, and there's a lot of little things they've changed in just the last couple of weeks that you need to know to make sure you save yourself a lot of money and a lot of heartache. Everything from your Discover card now going to be loaded into your Capital One account, to the new welcome offer eligibility between the Venture and Venture X credit cards, also new language on the welcome offers of the Venture X with a way higher minimum spend requirement, and a tool that'll possibly allow you to get approved for the Venture X that much easier. And we're going to do it all faster than you could say Discover, because that's exactly where we're going to start today, where their new merger, which you guys have seen over the past year or so, they have acquired Discover and now has since been merging the two card accounts into one. And shout out to Points of Philip, because he did a video on this exact topic, exactly how Discover and Capital One may integrate and how that actually could affect not just all the Discover users, but also Capital One users when regards to points of miles. And it all started with this Reddit thread here, where this guy actually mentioned Lee King saying that his credit card, his Discover It credit card, or whatever Discover card he has, is now going to merge, and it's solely going to be on the Capital One app. And so with this, a lot of people are speculating oh, if they merge this card with Capital One, are we going to lose our 5% quarterly bonuses on Discover? Some people are wondering, is it going to ruin the card? Is it going to supercharge the card, right? If we now have a Discover card on the Capital One network, are we going to be able to take the Discover card that now would be on our Capital One app and take all of that cash back, that 5% cash back on rotating categories, and actually transfer that to some of these points of miles cards like the Venture card or Venture X, and then we can actually use all that cash back for some crazy travels. And so I actually have some one-to-one experience with this, where the Kohl's card has started being issued by Capital One. And so my old Kohl's card that literally had its own separate app that was pretty terrible has now merged with Capital One, and you could see it right here, my Kohl's card right here. And so while one thing that I have noticed and something that Phil speculated is, are you going to be able to merge credit limits around, and are you going to be able to transfer points currencies around, like cash back to points and what have you? And so my first thought is, when I do go into my Kohl's account, you can see there's a few different things here, right? It says a couple different things, but usually on the Capital One side, there's a little button here that says I want to, and usually here all the way at the bottom, it'll state, oh, move my credit line, or maybe in certain cases when you go down here, it'll be combine my points that I have on these set accounts. And so if I go back and I go over to, let's say, my Venture card, which does have some points of miles on here, and I do say I want to, it actually gives me the option. Transfer credit line to my other card, my Venture card, or if I hit view rewards, and if I go all the way below, I can combine rewards with any other of my credit cards here. And you can see the Kohl's card here is not eligible, and we already know vice versa. My guess is it's just solely going to be on your Capital One app right here, so this way you can more easily pay your bill, but I don't think that all the cashback that you earn on there will be able to be combined. We'll see. Nobody really knows, but I think that is a very, very interesting point that Phil brought up, and I do think it does deserve a little bit of weight for sure. But just based on Kohl's so far and the rollout of that and how they've integrated, they almost still seem like separate entities, to be honest. And speaking of that Venture card, that is actually an amazing card. Well, Capital One has just changed something to actually disallow you and actually hurt us again in getting welcome offers between multiple of their different cards. And so you can see it as here, as it states, Capital One adds terms combining Venture and Venture X cards. Sign-up bonus eligibility to 48 months. And so they mentioned, since 2023, Capital One is a rule. You can only get a sign-up bonus once every 48 months, so every 4 years. They've now tweaked the language of the terms to combine the Venture X and Venture cards into one family for the 48-month wait. And now the new terms essentially state, you're not eligible for this product if you have received a new card member bonus for the Capital Venture card or Venture X card in the past 48 months. Now, this is actually pretty interesting language here, because it states you are not eligible for this product if you have received a new card member bonus, but it doesn't actually state you're not eligible for the welcome offer like we do see on some other credit cards. Like if we were to go to the offer terms on the Amex Platinum card, we could actually say here, you may not be eligible to receive a welcome offer, right? Not the product, but the welcome offer if you've had these certain cards. So I think that's actually pretty interesting. They mentioned that just this product. So I don't know if it necessarily means the bonus is every 48 months or just the card itself, which I think would be fairly interesting, but it might just be semantics here. And so just looking at this, this is, I would say, a heavy, heavy nerf. Now, you guys may not be aware, but the Capital One Venture card is absolutely insane. It's right here, and I actually got this card last year after applying for it once, getting denied, and then getting approved for it 7 months later, whatever. Now, the Venture card is actually a pretty super powerful card for one main reason and one main reason alone. It's that this card, for just a $95 annual fee, so 300 less than the Capital One Venture X, and less the $300 travel credit, of course, but it comes with a comparable and sometimes even better welcome offer than the Venture X itself does have. And so you can see right here, the Venture Rewards earn 75,000 bonus miles. Terms apply. Usually it's spend $4,000 in 3 months, get 75,000 bonus miles. In fact, during the summer, there were a ton of people that actually got a 100,000 bonus miles. And not only that, but some people were getting an offer, myself included, of 75,000 bonus miles and a $300 Capital One travel credit, which I'm assuming will come back around probably in the springtime, hopefully. And also, if you were wondering, yes, this card has also come with 100,000 miles as well, literally equaling the Venture X. But I just think for 75K miles, for 4K spend, and a $300 travel credit, that's absolutely an amazing card. But the main difference here now is that if you already had the Venture X, I guess per these technical rules, even though I don't like the language of it, it would state that if you got the Venture X, then maybe you would already be locked out of the welcome offer on the Venture card and vice versa. So I'm somebody who has the Venture card. I never got the Venture X. I theoretically, under these new rules, if the language is corrected a little bit, and if it looks a little bit more Amex-like in the future, if they change this language, then I would be ineligible for the welcome offer on the Venture X card, which is now locking me out of 75 to 100,000 miles. And so while one, that would be a little bit more devastating, but I'm not as devastated because they've also made another big change right here on the Venture X with this limited time offer, which states, oh, you can get your 100,000 miles, right? 100,000 like we talked about, but now you got to spend $10,000. That's right, that's 10 racks on purchases within the first 6 months of account opening. So they gave you an extra 3 months, because in the past it was 3 months of spend and $4,000. Now it's 6 months, worth of spend and $10,000. So an extra 3 months and an extra $6,000. Now, if you do the math on that, it's fairly interesting, right? If you spend $4,000, divide that by 3 months, that's $1,333 every single month. Now, if we multiply that and we do the 10,000 divided by 6 months, that's $1,666. And let alone, let's not factor in all these sixes repeating, but let's just factor in it's about $300 more every single month, which seems small, but in the grand scheme of things, it's an extra $6,000 that you could have been putting towards anything. You could have been putting it towards, this American Express Platinum card and almost hit a welcome offer on that. You could have also put it towards a Venture Rewards card and, saved $2,000 and got an additional 75,000 bonus miles. And so if they're going to limit our ability to earn welcome offers between these two cards, while also simultaneously raising this spend requirement to 10,000, and hopefully this does go back down. It's a limited time offer right now, but hopefully it goes back down because, well, 6 months to hit 10K is really not that hard for a lot of people, a lot of you guys watching, but still it's an opportunity cost of like, hey, if I have a lot of other welcome offers that I could possibly hit, where could I better use that additional $6,000? Could I get a Venture card at 4K and then take the 6K and hit a Hilton Aspire or what have you? There's just a lot of different opportunities. If this is your last card and it's the only one you can get approved for, then sure, go for it, get the 100K miles. But one other thing that has actually changed recently, which has something to do with how likely you are to get approved, because we know so many people out there are either one, just cannot get a Capital One Venture X card because they just have too many cards and they've really locked themselves out of it over the years, or two, you're somebody who has the Venture X and you're afraid to actually cancel the card because you think you'll never ever get it again. Well, Capital One also in the last month or so has introduced its own Apply with Confidence tool. And if you haven't watched my old past videos talking about how everybody wants to be American Express and how they're the puppet masters, well, take a look at this language right here. Apply with confidence. Know if you're approved with no credit score impact. American Express, apply with confidence. Know if you're approved for this card, that's the only difference, with no credit score impact. So the exact same language here. And so yes, Capital One has introduced its own Apply with Confidence tool, which a lot of people I've found who I've talked to who've used this seem to like it. I mean, it seems a little bit more maybe accurate than their pre-approval tool, even though their pre-approval tool is already pretty good. So I'm surprised they actually have something like this. But essentially, Apply with Confidence, you can go through the entire application, see if you're approved, and you can either at that time, if you're approved, accept it or still deny it, and you never really actually get a credit score impact in the first place. And so you can see right here, how does the process work? After you answer some questions about yourself, if you're approved for the Venture X, you'll have a chance to accept your offer. So either deny it or accept it with no impact to your credit score whatsoever. It's going to be a soft inquiry, just like American Express has adopted and has used for many, many years. And so it looks like everybody's trending towards a few different things. One, The apply with confidence tool, sure. Like I'm starting to see that across the board. Chase has just reintroduced theirs not that long ago. Also, the higher spend requirements. I remember when the platinum card I think was 4,000 spend, and then more recently 6,000 spend, and now we have $8,000 worth of spend. So hopefully we don't see this going up more and more and more with Chase and all these other ones. But Capital One, it seems, if they keep this limited time offer, maybe it's a test, a beta, just to see are people willing to spend this much money on their card just to get the exact same welcome offer they could have got a month ago. Then yeah, that's going to be interesting, and it's not going to be great because spend requirements are going to go higher and higher and higher and lock a lot more people out of welcome offers. It's the reason more people don't go for like the American Express business cards is because all of the welcome offer spend is so high. You actually have to have a business and actually put a lot of money through your credit cards to actually hit them, like 15K spend to $25,000 worth of spend. It locks a lot of people out. And so if they're trying to find people who are just actually inherently wealthier or spend a lot more money, higher net worth individuals, people who put a lot of money through their cards, and that's how they're going to make up the delta for giving you that incentive package, that 100,000 miles. How are we going to recoup that investment outside of like people who are just typical churners? Well, we'll just make the spend requirements much, much higher. So this way we get more in swipe fees, and we have somebody who's more than likely going to spend on our cards much, much more in the future. Because if you can't hit 10K worth of spend in 6 months, then well, maybe they just look at you as like a low profit person. And so lastly, the new Savor X card. Again, I guess 16 hours ago on Reddit, someone mentioned that an agent told him that the Savor X is going to be launching early to mid-December. Fairly interesting. We've talked about this a bunch of times in the past. I don't really think it's particularly like a great card, but for those who like weren't aware or haven't seen those videos, just know that there are some surveys that were out there and they were put out, and now apparently this guy says an agent is going to be stating this, that the Savor X is going to be 4x on dining, 3x on groceries, 10x on hotels and entertainment. And it's going to have a couple of, credits and coupons like the Capital One travel credit, $100 dining credit, 120 at Starbucks, complimentary Apple TV, complimentary Uber One. It looks very, very similar to what every other card is trying to issue, at least any card of this caliber around $300 and above is like, oh, can we give them a travel credit? Can we give them a dining credit? Some sort of a, I guess Starbucks or a Dunkin' or, something like that. Or just, and these memberships that are starting to become less and less valuable as more of these companies are actually issuing them, like the Amex Platinum card or the Sapphire Reserve, both issuing an Apple TV or an Uber One. And so again, these cards are mainly just trying to take over your entire life. They want to have one card for all of your spend. They want your dining, your entertainment, your travel, everything you can possibly imagine wants to be on all one singular card. And while, I don't want to spend too much time on the Savor X because so many people have already talked about this in the past, it's definitely just something that I don't think is the most interesting, probably not the best card. Is it a card that I would probably smash and grab if it's like a 75K to 100K offer with no, lifetime spend bonus, eligibility? Then maybe, maybe. But outside of that, nothing too exciting, honestly, on that front. With all of these different changes, right? With like the Discover merger, or even the Kohl's merger that affected me not that long ago, the apply with confidence tool, the higher spend requirements of 10,000, or even the welcome offer eligibility, there's definitely a lot of things changing with Capital One. But basically, credit cards as a whole, with all of these credit card issuers locking down on welcome offers, higher spend requirements on so many different things, it's all a product of just tightening and reducing the amount of churners that are actually in the ecosystem. And so if you want some help actually navigating the entire credit card points and miles landscape, you can scan the QR code on your screen right here. It's going to take you to the private community where you can ask me one-to-one advice on whether your credit card acquisitions, your setups, or even just travel redemptions that you're trying to make in the future. So I hope to see you there. And if you want to see exactly how American Express is the puppet master, of pulling the strings of all of these different credit card issuers now and probably until the end of time, check out this video right here as well. And so thanks for being here all the way to the end. Much appreciated. Take care. Have fun. Bye-bye.